I have the privilege today of interviewing three amazing members of this church. And so I'm just going to start by saying welcome to Chrissy, welcome to Ellie, and welcome to Gareth. Let's give them a hand. So what's fun about hearing people's stories is actually knowing what makes people tick. And we see amazing people, we see their smiles, but there's also a journey that everybody's been through. And that's things that have gone on in their lives. And it's amazing just to stop and go, hey, let's hear about what that is. So first of all, who's enjoyed a 3-day week this week? Oh, all right. So, okay, well, should we cancel the holidays? Not many people were interested. I enjoyed it. Three-day week, two holidays within the week. That was nice. Who's been enjoying the rain? Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? You think we had water restrictions just recently, and now, no problem. God's turned the taps on for us. So today, Sam and Samantha, they're away, and so we get the privilege to be able to just have a bit of a chat and find out what's going on in people's lives. So Chrissy, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to get everybody to answer the similar question. But first of all, some of us know you, a little bit about you, but there's people in the room that have probably never met you. They might be here for the first time. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Anything interesting, tell us. And how long Echo's been part of your home? Over to you.
Yep, so I'm Chrissy. I am fairly new here. I got married to a whakatane boy and ended up moving here a year and a half ago now. So I'm married to my dad, but before that I was from Rotorua. And yeah, that's me. That's how I came to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie. This is my gorgeous husband Gareth. We have two beautiful boys, Hunter and Marcus. One's 10 and one's 5. We've been married for 12 years now. Which is
that deserves a round of applause. So.
But it's obviously we've had to work at it. I own a little cafe in Edgecombe, Mana Cafe, where we play worship and we celebrate Jesus. So yeah, that's me.
And can I just add to that? So for those that haven't been, so Ali's got this amazing cafe. It's out at Edgecombe. It's worth a drive just to go out there. It's awesome. It's called Mana. There's only worship music that plays in there. It's the most amazing atmosphere. So she's got books and that. It's a real witness. And we've actually got someone in church who started coming to this church because she went along to the cafe. How cool is that?
And the food and coffee is amazing.
Yeah, that was just a given. I do go out there just to buy a loaf of sourdough bread. It's worth the drive. No, there you go.
Hello, I'm Gareth, obviously married to Ellie. And I'm the one eating all the profits. So I'm a South African born and bred and local Sparky. We got, like Ali said, we got two boys. Love hunting, love fishing, anything outdoors. Yeah, that's me.
Anything else about your interesting journey? You're a Sparky now. Anything before that?
We did a bit of study at Polytech, didn't like that. Ended up joining as a cop. Was a police officer for just about 11 years, New Zealand. And got sick and tired of that and decided to do an adult apprenticeship. Did my adult apprenticeship and then about 2 years after that, I started my own business, yeah.
And you guys, how did you meet, by the way?
Coffee shop. No surprise there. She was the barista and I was the cop. And
I had a crush on him for about 2.5 years.
Yeah, so.
Come in and buy coffee, and I finally figured out he was single.
And were you selling donuts with the coffee at that shop?
No, it was ice cream. It was coffee. That's my treats, coffee. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, guys. So each of you have made a decision to follow Jesus at some point in your life. Could you tell us a little bit about that journey? Were you brought up in church? What's happened throughout your life to actually get you to this point?
Yeah, so for me it was obviously in South Africa, mum sends you off to Sunday school, probably just to have a break from you. But yeah, we used to go to Sunday school every Sunday. We just slowly started knowing Jesus over there. Wasn't a full commitment, but it was kind of just an introduction, and they kind of carried me through the most of my younger days. It was kind of only 2-3 years, since meeting Ali, that she was really a great follower, and she kind of slowly got me closer and closer. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that, probably 6 months ago, that things really started clicking for me, if that's a better way of saying that. And I was just, and that's kind of how I got to it, and that led to the baptism, and that's where we are now.
Awesome. Ali?
Mine's not as straightforward. I grew up in a household that it was a good household. Like, there was love, and but there was a lot of witchcraft, and I think my parents were trying to find God in all the wrong places, is a way I've come to actually find a lot of peace with. So I was really thrown into quite a very, very dark childhood. And through that came a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. I got really sick for a long time. I was in hospital for over a year having seizures that there was no explanation for. My parents went into, they were Jehovah's Witnesses at one stage, and Buddhism, and there was a variety of different things. So therefore I suffer from really, really bad anxiety and a panic disorder. I have panic attacks just out of the blue. They're uncontrollable. I've had it for most of my life. So I've relied on Jesus for most of my life, but it's probably only been the last maybe 5 years where I've come to really, really have a loving relationship with him, where I can't live life without him, which is why I devote every day of my life. It's I call it my ministry. I do at the church, at the cafe, where I devote everything to him. He's helped me overcome so many obstacles and challenges in my life. That's pretty much me.
Wow, that's an awesome story. That's amazing. And Chrissy?
So I'm really blessed to have grown up in a Christian family and have a really beautiful Christian heritage on both sides of my family. And so I don't ever remember having a time where I didn't know Jesus. But I do remember as a little girl, my mum used to play Radio Rema a lot, and I haven't listened to it in years, but back in the day, there was in the evening, there were often different speakers, and I remember sitting on my mum and dad's bed one day. They had a little alarm clock, and they just had the radio playing, and the guy, it was some guy, some old school guy, like Chuck Musser or, not a 7-year-old audience at all, but he was saying basically, if you want to invite Jesus into your heart, you need to invite him in there. He won't just come in there. That's something you invite him to do, and that's where your relationship with him begins. And I remember as a child, I was a little bit shocked. I didn't realise that's how it worked, and so I was like, of course I want Jesus in my heart. So I just sat in my mum and dad's room all by myself, listening to this old school preacher, and I invited Jesus into my heart. And that's probably, I guess, the first conscious decision that I made. But also lots of an amazing heritage of Christian believers that just prayed into our family line. Yeah.
Well, isn't that amazing? 3 different stories. How different. And within this room, you think about, you can be sitting next to someone, you don't know what their journey's like. And I love hearing that 3 so wildly different stories. I think it's awesome. But actually, we're all here today. And so following Christ, it is a journey. We can throw that word around a lot in life. You know, things are a journey. Starting a business is a journey. Playing music's a journey. All of these things. But actually following Christ, it is a journey. And what would be, if each of you can just give us something significant that's been part of that faith journey. One thing that you've really learnt within that journey for yourself.
So like I said, I obviously grew up in the church. I grew up with a Christian faith. But I think a lot through my teenage years. I was a very good child, and I felt like there was a lot of upheaval in my family for lots of different reasons. And I just had this mentality that I had to be good to please my family and please God. And when I was 24, I'm a teacher, and I'd finished Teachers College, and there was an opportunity for me to go and teach in Tonga in the Pacific Islands. And I was quite adventurous, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. And the Lord led me definitely. And it became a bit of a desert season for the first year because I was going to a new country by myself, didn't know the language, I was young, the food was different, like everything is different when you go to a completely different culture. And God did this amazing thing, and it totally revolutionised my faith. And that I went to, so church was, sometimes I go to a Tongan church, which was beautiful, but I couldn't understand Tongan. And so when I was looking for fellowship, there was a international church. It was at AOG, and my friend started taking me along there, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful little gathering of eclectic people, and I remember the message one day. The pastor, and I don't actually know what the message was about. I can't remember, but I remember him saying, "There are moments where in my life a situation is beyond me, or I just don't know how to respond, or I feel like I'm not coming at it from a good place." And he said, in that moment, I just step aside and I say, "Jesus, I need you now." And I don't know why, but in that moment, I don't know, it was just like this this massive revelation of the power of who Jesus is. And I had lived all my life hearing about Jesus, but it wasn't until that moment, it was like this massive drop of revelation of who Jesus is. And it totally impacted the next 2 years for me. So it impacted how what I did with my finances. I remember God saying to me one day, I was in church, I earned peanuts, and so I had my little pay packet. It was about $200 for the fortnight or something. And I felt the Lord say, "Put the whole thing in the offering." And I was like, "What am I going to eat?" And he was like, "Do you trust me?" So I was like, "Jesus, I'm all in." So I put the whole pay packet in the offering, and every single meal that week, God provided. Like a little kids put pie clips on my desk. I had a cleaner, and she drove past me that week, and she called out to me, and she goes, "Christine, I'm taking you for dinner." And she took me down the road, and we had barbecue. And then later on in the week, my friend, another parent I was teaching, her and her husband took me to this beautiful, they saw me walking, they picked me up off the road, and they took me to this beautiful Italian restaurant. And I just had this whole new revelation of who God was as a provider. I had a toothache. I bit a minty, and the filling came out of my tooth. And obviously over there, it's not, you can't just book a dentist. And I ended up with a massive infection. And I went, "Okay, Jesus, time to step in," because I couldn't get off the couch. The infection was so bad. So I went to church that week, and in our church we used to, they didn't do prayer at the end, they did it as part of the worship. And so during the worship, I just went up and I went, "Jesus, I'm here. heal my tooth. It was completely healed by the end of the day. That was not what my faith was like before that. It was very much if I do the right thing and I please God, then good things will happen. And the revelation of the power of the finished work of the cross. And it amazes me because Tonga is a very religious country. It is very much, there's a paradigm of if you go to church and you give money and you're a good person, then you're a good Christian. But God took me into that environment and he just totally revolutionized who he was to me. Yeah, so.
Wow, that's cool.
That was a long time ago now, 15 years.
That was an amazing story, though. Love it. Go, Ellie.
Can I have the question again?
It is sharing one thing that you've learnt in your journey of faith. So something that's really been a significant moment that's changed how you see your faith in Christ.
It will probably be how I came into business, actually. How do I even begin this? So I was driving along the Riversley Mall, where my cafe is now, and I saw the roller door, and I thought, I just literally had this vision in front of me of this beautiful cafe. And I didn't have any money at the time. I was working in a little caravan making cakes in Marata, and I thought, but I had this urge that I just needed to do more and do more for God, because he's been just so amazing throughout my life and he's never ever let me down. And so I thought, I'm just going to ring the landlord and ask, about the rental. And actually the space was a storage shed, so it was just full of junk since the floods. And then I went home to Gareth and I said, I'm going to start a coffee shop. And he's like, okay, yeah, all right. How? And I'm like, I just know I'm going to do it. It's just there. I can see it. It's I believe, I just know. And God just wants me to take this step. So I literally went and I saw some people who had coffee trailers for sale. So I went and I said, I'm going to buy this one. And Gareth's like, where are you going to get this money from? I'm like, I just know it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. So anyway, I'd arranged all that. I'd been in, I'd cleaned out the storage shed. I had it all organised. And then the time came that I had to pay for this coffee cart. And Gareth's like, what are you going to do? How are we going to do this? Because he had just finished his apprenticeship. So it was like, okay, we hadn't quite fully got established. And and then one day I was sitting in a coffee shop and Gareth called me and said, Ellie, can you check, have you checked our bank account? And I needed $10,500 to start this little venture. And I said, no, and he goes, have a look. Literally, that within me looking at that coffee cart within a week, I looked in our account, there was $10,500 in our account. And I was like, see, God's got this. So it just turned out that it was we hadn't claimed for childcare for a number of years, but God knew that was coming, and that just really reassured my faith in Him, that He's actually got this, but sometimes we just literally need to take that step for Him in order to move, and not wait like waiting for the right time, the right moment, the right, for everything to align. I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I have nothing except God, in that moment. So I just love Him. Yeah.
That's amazing. Gareth, do you want to tell your side of the story now? No. No, you don't have to tell us, but something significant for you.
Well, for me, when she said it, I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This one's crazy. Yeah.
Literally was, you're mad.
Mine was kind of all through that time, I with Ellie's faith and her believing, kind of got me a little bit closer and closer and closer. But I wasn't there yet, and I wasn't there was still a part of me that wasn't convinced. And I bought a truck that was down in Christchurch, and I picked it up and drove back. And I'm always a silent driver. I drive in complete silence, just me and my thoughts. And I got to about Blenheim and I thought, oh, I'll just put on some music. And I ended up putting on worship music, which is weird because I've never listened to it apart from Ellie in the cafe. And the song Gratitude came on. And yeah, those words just got me. And I just realised that I didn't have to be a certain person. I didn't have to act a certain way. I just have to be like, I just hallelujahs, throw up my hand, and that's all he wants. And he wants me to start from there, and then slowly he'll pick you up and take you to where he wants you to be. And that was the thing that kind of hit me hard. And then I got home and we were all I was like still like lost of where to go with all these things. And I always go hunting. Ali would come to church and I'll go hunting. And, I'd say, oh, that was my church, and I'd still do that. But whilst I was hunting in that period, there was a lot of questions and things going through my head and, about him and how, just more questions about him. And I ended up getting a shoulder injury and I couldn't go hunting. And Ellie says, oh, if you can't go hunting, you might as well come to church. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I came to church and, Sam's message was really good that day. And my shoulder was really sore and I was really uncomfortable and there was a lot going on and I was on a lot of painkillers. And Ali said, I've got someone that wants to, I want to introduce you. And it was Sam's dad and Sam's mum, and they said, oh, we're going to pray over you. And I was mortified. I was so angry. I was so angry at her for putting me in that position, being, staunch South African, I am. And they prayed over me, and he kept on saying, I said to him at that stage it was a rotator cuff injury that had a 5 centimetre tear in my rotator cuff. And he said to me, I've healed so many rotator cuffs by praying. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I've had 2 surgeries, there's no way. And he prayed and he prayed and he kept telling me to move it, and he kept praying and he kept praying and it was still sore. He kept praying and praying and praying. And in the end, I just went, yeah, okay, that's better now, just so I can, get out the door because it was uncomfortable. And, so we left, and that day, the next, that was on obviously Sunday. On that Monday, I ended up in hospital because the pain was so severe and I couldn't move my shoulder and it was just terrible. And so we ended up staying the whole week in hospital due to an infection below on my ribs, just above there, and they couldn't figure out why. They knew I had a tear in my shoulder because they'd done an ultrasound prior to that, but they couldn't link the two and they couldn't figure out why there was an infection. There was no common reason for there to be an infection. So I got out of hospital and we cleared the infection and we moved on. And then the surgeon contacted me and said, hey, we got to fix your shoulder now. It's quite a severe tear. We just need to get a CAT scan done to confirm that how we're going to do the surgery. And I was like, oh yeah. So I went for the CAT scan. About 2 weeks later, went in to see the surgeon, and she kind of looks at me like confused. And I'm like, and Ellie was there, and she was just like, what's going on? I'm like, she goes, just do some exercises for me. And she does my shoulder and does all these weird and wonderful exercises. She goes, how does it feel? I was like, oh, it feels all right. It feels weird. She goes, well, I got 2 scans. One is the one of your ultrasound, and it shows a clear tear, 2.5 centimetre clear tear that we got to fix. She says, but we saw your CAT scan and it's gone. There's nothing there. And she's like, what's going on? And she says, what happened between now and then? And I was just like, wow. And then at that stage, I just walked out there and I just cried. I just cried and cried. And just that kind of made me, like that was the penultimate stage of, wow, you've got everything under your control. You can take care of everything. There's nothing I have to worry about.
Wow. Let's give the Lord a hand for that. Isn't that miracles happen, you know? When people pray, God steps in, he works. I love it. What a story. And I was just going to say, you spoke about the song Gratitude. So that was the last song of the worship set we did. We had no idea that Gareth was going to talk about that song. And he had no idea that somehow that song ended up today as the song, isn't it? God works everything.
Yeah.
I love that. Just one quick final question. Is there anything that you feel God is speaking to you right now? Anything you can pass it around to, if you feel something that's in your life that God wants you to know and maybe to share with everyone today?
Yes, he's talking to me about patience. Something I am definitely not. I am just, like, when I've got something in my mind or there's something broken, I need to go 100 miles an hour to fix it. And that's just how I am. If there's a problem with electrical, I will stay up all night until I can find the solution, and I have got no patience. And yeah, I don't know how Ali puts up with me because, yeah, but recently I've been praying. We've been trying to get build a house, or whether we should move or we should get a relocatable house onto our property, and we just in this like roller coaster of where we want to go and what we want to do. And I prayed the other day to her, you know, like we went on a fast and we were praying, and all I keep getting is patience. And it's the last word I want to hear in my life, but it's all I'm getting at the moment is just patience. And every time I look at houses or look at everywhere, that's just the word patience keeps popping up in my head. And I've just said, right, I'm stopping, I'm not looking, I'm not, you know, I'm focusing on other things, and just let them show me, yeah, how to be patient.
Amazing. Ali?
One thing God's really teaching me at the moment is that he's using everybody. So whether you're a believer or a Christian or what you are, he will use you for good no matter what. I've had a few incidences in my life where he's shown me that, but one particular one was when I had my caravan. I kept getting my window smashed in over and over again. It happened so many times. I would have to take it out, go get it replaced. But this is where I was selling my cakes, where I first started my business. And I'd ring the police, then nothing was done about it, but it kept happening, And over again, I'd replace it, get broken, I'd replace it, get broken. I thought, Lord, what is going on? Like, I need your help. Like, well, please, like, I can't afford to keep changing my window. And then one day, a really big, gruff guy came up to the caravan and he said, Bub, you won't be having any more issues now. I caught the little, I won't say what he said. They won't be harassing you anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. Didn't happen again. And I was like, oh, okay, that's, you know. Anyway, I got really friendly with this guy, and we'd sit and we'd have coffee and we'd chat and coffee and cakes. And one of my friends came up to me one day and was like, do you know who that guy is? And I'm like, no, he's helped me so much. I mean, I prayed for him and he came. She goes, he's one of the head of the mongrel mob. And I was like, oh, Lord, where do I go from here? But anyway, he still comes in and checks on me in this business now. So it just really taught me a valuable lesson about not judging, and that he will use you, anyone, no matter who you are. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Chrissy?
I think, there's so many things that God's always talking to us about, but something that I'm really aware of at the moment is obviously in the last year I've had a lot of change. I've got married, I've moved cities, I've got a new job, a different job, new church, like everything's changed for me. And God is really impressing on me lately. It's a new season, so don't put old wine in, new wineskins. And he really has kind of been saying, I've got new things for you to do here. What you did in the last season, I was single. I had a whole lot of time for my extended family. I worked in a senior leadership position in a school. My life was completely different. But those things were familiar. And so I was really, that's what was comfortable, and that was how I operated. And he's brought me into a season now of, I'm married and we're having a baby, and I was sick for the first 20 weeks, literally in bed, sick. And he even used that to kind of go, I need you to let things go. I need you to slow down and listen and hear what I'm saying in the new season, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on so much. And it's been amazing, because you say no to things. People have expectations of you because you've operated a certain way your whole, a whole life. My family are used to having me be able to drop everything and go. I'm at school. When you have capabilities, people are like, cool, we'll give you more jobs because you're good at it. And I really feel God saying, is that what I'm asking you though? What am I saying? And so I'm just really aware of that, and just going, what is his calling? What is he asking me to do in this season? Where do I invest my time? And realizing that people are going to be not lots of people won't get it because you're operating differently, but that doesn't matter because you're being led by the Lord. And just learning to be led in a different and new way, and trust. And I'm also finding that he's asking me to do different things. And so, like at the moment, I'm beginning a tuition and mentoring business, and it was a real struggle in order to do it, but it's taking off here. But it's like having a baby. You're doing everything, you're cutting new ground all the time. And God's like, there's your priority. Like, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong, because you're doing something new for me. So, like, hold the course, because I'm doing something here. This is eternity that we're talking about. So I'm just really mindful of that at the moment.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I think I loved hearing all of your stories, and I'm sure everybody in the room's got more questions to ask you after. But let's just give a big round of applause to Gareth, Ali, and Chrissy, and thank you guys for being up here. All right, thank you. I'll get the team up. I loved all of those stories. When you just think about that for a moment, is there something that was said today which really stood out to you? Was there one of those stories which grabbed hold of you and you thought, wow, that is something that I need in my life? I love that story, the miracle of his shoulder. Amazing. And then you think about the things that people are going through, learning patience, knowing that God's got you, God's using people around you, God's in your environment. And when things are hard, it doesn't mean it's wrong. You're pushing through. You're breaking new ground. Is there something in your life that you're going through right now that you need to stop and actually let God just speak into you? And we're going to go into that song, Gratitude, that one that Gareth mentioned. And as we spend this time in worship, I just encourage you to worship God, but also let him speak to you. For me, I find that when I look up and my focus goes on God, it gives him an opportunity to speak into my life. And there's sometimes that in worship might pull out a phone and start writing on my phone. No, I'm not playing games, and I'm not messaging someone, but I'll actually find God speaks. It's a download. God will speak into my life during those times. So in this moment, as we go into worship, let's all just stand. And at the end of the service today, there'll be prayer at the end. And if God has spoken something to you that you'd like prayer just to help seal that in your life, please come forward. If there's healing that you need, God is a miracle working God. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we've got so much to be thankful for who he is. So let's worship.